Hello, everybody, and it's Xaiyeon here, back with another Walk, Talk, and Rock. Not really any exciting news today, other than the World Cup, that halftime show, and the closing ceremony. I really liked the music selection. It was basically all of the genres and different countries of music all into one, especially that BTS segue. It was pretty funny. Into Dynamite, and then JB's performance. I think the most exciting match, I mean, they were all pretty good. England versus France was kind of crazy. And then, yeah, Spain won. Congrats to Spain. I mean, I don't know what happened with Argentina, but it was a good, enjoyable tournament. So today's topic is going to be about the Harvest Moon series because I wanted to talk about their upcoming game, which is Harvest Moon. I would return to like Echoes of Teradea, and we're going to be talking about Harvest Moon and farming sim games in general. So this will probably be a little bit shorter because I exercised prior, kind of tired, and I still got some chores to do. But without further ado, in this video, we'll be talking about Harvest Moon and farming sims. So I'm going to explain what is Harvest Moon if you never heard of Harvest Moon, why farming sims are fun if you have no idea what kind of games you're into. The cool thing about farming sims is you can play it casually or hardcore. It's up to you. And then the next section will be the most loved Harvest Moon era, in my opinion, honestly. In the fourth section, it's going to be about the farming sim genre after Harvest Moon, how Harvest Moon actually shaped the farming simulation and simulation games in general, because I think farming was one of the first ones. And then we have like simulation games for a whole bunch of topics and activities. And then finally, the last section will be about the upcoming Harvest Moon game, Echoes of Teradea itself. So I'll be going over that, and we'll just get started. I'm gonna get my bus real quick and hit the quest, if there's any quest. Alright, different, it's the same quest. Alright, so Harvest Moon helped define the farming sim genre. I believe it started around 1995, 1996, and it was led by Marvelous, which was later published, I believe, and acquired by Natsume. And I think Natsume is under a different conglomerate. I could check right now. It's under Harvest Moon. Oh, no way. Oh no, I think they're still on the top. Okay. So, anyways, Harvest Moon got its name because, you know, full moon harvest, and then the moon. And the gameplay loop for Harvest Moon was fairly simple back then. You know, all you had to do was tend to this plot of land that you're given, and you make money and befriend people in the town. So it's a very simple and casual game experience, and nothing too crazy. And that honestly became the foundation for a lot of farming simulation games. Because, I mean, if you look at all the farming simulation games, they all follow the same pattern now. But we could add a lot of twists, you know what I'm saying? Which I'll talk about this grand idea of transforming the farming simulation genre in a totally brand new way that may be a little fun. But I won't I'll just allude to it. It's kind of like a way from this gacha game called Farm Life, something thereof. But not really exactly, more of a full game, because I really hate the gacha. We'll just call it everything like gotcha-chize, modify, slopify, gotchify the games, because I don't like gotcha games that much. And I don't play them anymore because they just disrespect your time in every single way that you can imagine. And the only people that play those games, honestly, just there's literally a better games out there. Like, come on, guys. Anyway, back to Harvesting. The series became special because it felt personal. You know, not every game played or every day in the game was the same unless you did the same routine. And they had very different ways of running the farm. Some people wanted to run the farm by planting one sort of crop, or by fishing and selling, or by selling ore. And there was numerous bachelors and bachelorettes that people could choose to like simulate a life with farming, I guess, which was not really the main core loop because it was fairly simple. You just rank up the friendship by giving them gifts and talking to them every day. Fairly easy to implement. And they had just like little special events here and there. And then the Keystone marriage ring. So you have like a sense of progression, the dating farm life. And so that game really had a lot of the good foundations. And there was a lot of research definitely put into the crops. And obviously they did a study on agriculture and animals, and they replicated it perfectly within their own time and calendar system. You know, usually one season is 30 days, just to keep it short, because no way no one wants to play actual 3 months of a season in a farming simulator game unless that's your type of thing. That's just too many things to account for. There'll be a lot of dead days, honestly. And they made like their own events within the game. So as Harvest Moon became popular, it started rising to fame during the PS1 era. And I didn't really play the original Harvest Moon, but I played Harvest Moon Back to Nature, and then I've been a fan. I mean, not a fan, but just like I just play the games that I like. So I also played all their upcoming PS2 games, like Mineral Town, and a whole lot of other games from the series. So the Japanese term is called Okujo Monogatari series, which was the part of the Harvest Moon series. And they just kept making those games under that brand. You know, like the story of... So when people say Harvest Moon, people might think two different things actually, because they also have another series called Story of Seasons, not to be confused with Harvest Moon. So the basic formula for this game is you basically start from nothing and you build your way up. And it is a very cheap and easy way to dial in and have progression. And in these kind of games, players love seeing progress be made, whether that be making more money or expanding their farm empire. Alright? So there was nothing too crazy about that, honestly. It's a very simple formula, but yet very effective for, I don't know, giving people something to do in life. So Harvest Moon did that really well, and you would play through like 4 years of the in-game time in hopes of trying to pay off the debt of the farm of your grandfather, because that was usually the main premise, is that you need to pay off a debt. And not only did you have to pay like maybe the monthly costs, but still run your farm as a business. But it wasn't too in-depth when it came to business, like monies and all that jazz. It was very simple business thing. You buy something, you grow it, you sell it. You know, there wasn't any logistical pricing like employees or anything. Very simple, cozy game. So why did this simple formula become addictive? And why do people enjoy farming sims even in today's modern world? Well, as you know, farming is actually a very demanding, physically demanding job or lifestyle. You have to wake up very early in the morning, and you have to tend to your animals and your crops, and also learn new technology and skills and what kind of things to focus on in order to have a successful farm. And that is a lot of work. And most of the time you would have a team or like I guess a corporation of people running the farm. And why do all that, right? People want to experience the farm life without having to do the actual real life work. So farm sims are interesting in that regards. Because secretly, farming games such as Harvest Moon also greatly help you improve your skill in time management, because you are constantly thinking about the time of doing stuff and tasks. Because as you continue on, if you really cared that much, you would plan your days accordingly. And obviously there's no uncertainty of whatever in a game. You do this at this time, it's going to happen. All you have to do is do it. Compared to real life has unexpected surprises, right? So people are able to increase their skill in time management and learn how to be a little bit more efficient with their time, which is nice. So Harvest Moon definitely does that for people. And with that also comes with planning. When people are running their farm, they get to plan out the layout, the vegetables, and what they're going to sell. And they can analyze the items in the game, which is very good for simple supply and demand and economic concepts. I mean, later on in further series, there is supply and demand factors and other factors from econ that you could see in more modern titles of Harvest Moon, but it still keeps the game simple for kids to enjoy, or just for everyone to enjoy, but you know, mostly for kids, which is an excellent game for your kid. And if you're thinking about something for them to play, if they have nothing to play, definitely recommend them the Harvest Moon series. Give it a shot. It's a nice single player game that doesn't rely on online connection, and your child could learn a lot. Okay. So most of the goals in the Harvest Moon game series are low stress. You can't really fail, and in more modern titles, the seasons keep going and going. So yeah, you just have a fun time and you go at your own pace. Okay. So most of the time, it's full of repetition, and that's all I got. I mean, sorry. Obviously, it's full of repetition, but you definitely see the progress in that. And Natsume and Marvelous the developer do their best to add mini games in the game, such as with like fishing and those events, to break the repetition and keeping it exciting and fresh, which is the standard now for many video games today and simulation games in general. Because this is one of the first simulation games, although there was many, like on like I think Atari had a few, but nothing as good as Harvest Moon, in my opinion, back in the day. And as the farming sim genre expanded, like I said, there was better inventory management, different ways of travel, like using your horse or some public transportation in the game, different romance options, basically everything that you could think of. Customizations such as clothes, making clothes, and things started evolving from then, like such as Animal Crossing, that took the genre from a cozier simulation to like a town simulation and whatnot. So now literally every game has these features, right? Like combat, crafting, a lot of social aspects. So the main challenge of these simulation games, and especially such as Harvest Moon, is you don't want to overwhelm the player, so you got to find that perfect balance. Because farming in general, it's a very wide topic. You can make it as difficult as you need it to be, but you gotta make sure you take all the fun parts from farming and make it simplified. Sorry, you take the hard parts from farming, make it fun and simplified. So now my question to you guys is, when you think of playing a farming sim, what do you look for? Is it the bachelorettes and bachelors that interest you? Is it the gameplay mechanics? Or is it just you're just looking for something to kill time, which is perfectly okay? Because now there's so many farming simulation games that have came about in a similar fashion, like Stardew Valley. I mean, I guess Minecraft is kind of a farming sim, if you can think of it that way. But those are like open world, open sandbox survival games, so it doesn't really fall into that category. But yeah, we still have Story of Seasons. And then, I forgot the other one. There's another series. Oh, well, they have Time at Porter. Sorry, Time at Sandrock. And then we have like the Star Sand Island and so many more. Oh, My Time at Porsche. That's what I meant. So now that you understand how the game works, I want to talk about Harvest Moon games that people still talk about. And these are more of a personal opinion. So if you ask long-time Harvest Moon fans what got them hooked to the genre, it mostly had to be one of the games from PlayStation and PlayStation 2. So PlayStation helped define the town farming, and it was one of the greatest hits, I believe, for PlayStation 1, which was Harvest Moon Back to Nature, and later Harvest Moon Mineral Town. Because now that they had the sense of identity, the developers were able to add more features that complemented the gameplay and giving the player something to look forward to. They could meet the goals of how much money they're making for the farm, and still hang out with their chosen bachelor or bachelorette, or just getting to know the NPCs in the game, which is nice. So like it could help foster people to hopefully communicate with their neighbors and enjoy the simple living of just existing, you know, life as the days go by. You know, most of our life is designed in a repetitive manner that is honestly repetitive, okay? Like life we have designed is very predictable and repetitive. In a sense, if you played Harvest Moon, you'll understand some days are boring, but that's just part of life, right? Not every day is gonna be, what's that called? Action-packed. So Friends of Mineral Town was like the refined version of Back to Nature, and you got to experience that on the Game Boy Advance, because they later went to like Nintendo consoles after PlayStation to expand. And from Back to Nature, everybody liked this portable remake because now you can experience Harvest Moon even when you're going outside, right? Like one of the addicting things about playing farm sims is that you want to keep playing because it's like a real life or something. Like, I remember when I was playing Back to Nature on the PlayStation, I would always make it a goal to get through at least 3 days every day. One in-game day would take me at least 30 minutes. So it felt like you were having some progress, and it was your own little personal, well, for me it was like a story time to kill time, I guess, honestly. So Friends of Mineral Town is probably the easiest classic Harvest Moon game because it had a strong village life, very simple but polished game mechanics, and a good amount of crops and seasonal events in the game. And then we come to like Harvest Moon 64, where we start introducing a little bit of 3D. And this is, in my opinion, where like I feel like Marvelous or Natsume as a developer kind of should have not went 3D so early. As we all know, series such as Pokemon only have recently began going 3D in like the past 6 years. And I don't know why Harvest Moon really jumped on the 3D aspects when, in my opinion, their 3D is just very unpolished and looks like absolute dog shit, okay? Because when I played the PS2 version and they had the 3D version, like, I forgot the title. Harvest Moon. Oh yeah, A Wonderful Life. Oh my god, it was kind of annoying how many pathing glitches NPCs and the pets have, and it felt really clunky, and the 3D didn't even look good. The assets look all low poly, and in my opinion, I didn't like it that much. They should have just really polished or gone with an isometric, or maybe I guess it's harder to program isometric than to do straight up 3D right away. But it was a nice attempt. But yeah, Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life, followed by Innocent Life, a futuristic Harvest Moon, and a special edition And then after that, the series of Harvest Moon kind of died down because they started to realize that the popularity has gone down, right? So they thought that the farming simulation genre was basically over. They didn't even bother to fix the other things that just didn't make the game appealing anymore. In my opinion, like I said, which is the graphics, the music, the voice acting, the artwork, everything with the design they failed on. And you know what sells the most to people is the design and the concept. Which is why when Harvest Moon first came out and it was 2D, it just fit, right? But when they made it 3D, it just looked off and not that good. Okay, so after A Wonderful Life, we move on to the Story of Seasons era, like the Trio of Towns and whatnot. Stories of Seasons was a wonderful, like Bizarre Life or Story of Seasons, and whatnot. I think it's basically just like a derivative spin-off, since they did care about Harvest Moon, but maybe they were thinking that since the series itself kind of failed in name, they wanted to make something completely different. And they did. Story of Seasons is like kind of like this other series called Rune Factory. Another transformative series that took the farming simulation genre to a whole another level. So you are basically on an island and you have to go through and solve these mysteries, and it could have ranged from discovering the true powers and mysteries of the island to saving the townsfolk from impending doom of chaos. So it's had like gameplay, like fighting gameplay that you don't typically see in Harvest Moon, and it introduces farming with monsters that you can collect, which borrows concepts from games like Monster Rancher. And this is where a lot of people seem to don't understand where farming sims and survival sims have, or sandbox, have evolved, like such as Pal World. You have the same thing, but things start to become more modern. And I'll explain that more in the future section. But let's focus on this one. So the most loved Harvest Moon games were not always the biggest ones, but they were the ones where the town felt alive, because there was dead ass some Harvest Moon Harvest Moon game, like especially the Wonderful Life, where the freaking NPCs, bro, like they're there and all, but the dialogue is so dry and it's boring. And the original Harvest Moon, as time went by and events, they would change the dialogue and it felt like the city or town was alive. But in the PS2 era, most of them seemed dead. They had the main, of course, basic gameplay loop, but all the things that make a pizza great were missing. All the ingredients were missing. And that was actually the more important things, because in simulation games, it's actually the attention to detail and the small things that matter, which you could say for mostly anything, but for simulation games, that's actually more important, right? So some people like it once you reach certain milestones or goals in the game, for the town NPCs to actually change their dialogue and interact with the player as the game progresses. All right. I mean, that's very important, as you can see in modern simulation farming sim games. Okay, so now my question for you is, which Harvest Moon game was your favorite back then, and what got you into the series or genre of farming simulation in general? It doesn't have to be Harvest Moon, it could be anything. There's probably a lot of farming sim games that I've probably never heard of. You be sure to share that one. As we move on to the next section, as the genre exploded and eventually games that inspired Harvest Moon such as Stardew Valley and a whole lot of other games started appearing, reviving the genre into a whole new paradigm of beat. So farming sims after Harvest Moon, alright? Harvest Moon very much well helped define the genre. And indie developers and developers alike look to Harvest Moon as a base inspiration of designing their own game. We see games such as Stardew Valley, which was developed by one single person, Eric Barone, a very amazing person, and definitely gave me time of my life playing Stardew Valley, because it had everything that I actually liked in Harvest Moon. It had mining, it had town atmosphere, events, and all that amazing juiciness stuff. And then we had games like Stories of Seasons starting to expand their core main gameplay mechanics. Story of Season was actually the original Harvest Moon lineage of the game. And they made it that way because some people probably only just liked the farming aspects, but if they wanted more, they could play Story of Seasons. And now if you actually want more of fighting and stuff, we had Rune Factory. And then later, Nintendo adopted the simple basic mechanics of this and created Animal Crossing, right? So we have all these games, but each added their own little twist. Like Story of Seasons added more upon Harvest Moon, with more like quest and RPG like farming sim, while Harvest Moon was just the basics of farming and nothing more, nothing else, right? Very casual. Story Seasons took that to the next level, turning into like RPG like and adding more complex economic things like trading and all that. And then we have Rune Factory, which totally turned it into an RPG style where you can recruit people or save people, then romance people as well, while exploring dungeons to unlock different crops, foods, animals, skills, and whatnot. And you can like choose a weapon. Special is like dagger, spear, bow, or katana. And then we have Animal Crossing, which is not really a farming sim, but it definitely was inspired by Harvest Moon because it takes those aspects of a lively town or community and turns it into a gameplay loop. Like in Animal Crossing, you basically make money and then you make houses and you upgrade infrastructure and you make clothes so you can have more people in your community, and it's just like a cozy game. Nothing too crazy right there. And it proved that people just sometimes want something chill to do, and Animal Crossing delivered just that. Maybe some people just wanted that community vibe or a sense of belonging, and that's what most of these farming simulation games do. They give you a sense of belonging. They give you a sense that you are needed because you need to run that farm. All right. And then later, we have another indie developer. I think it's Pathia Games. They came out with My Time at Porsche, another excellent farming simulator game. Sorry, I'm getting tired. And then later on, it was a big hit. They had My Time at Sandrock, and I think they're still working on their next title. And then we also have these other games like Core Island. and another indie game. So like the farming genre has literally exploded. It has exploded from farming sim to community to all sorts of genres, from RPG to customization, and that also transformed simulation in general, the simulation genre in general, because things like Microsoft Flight Simulator and like all types of simulator games, you know, like Kerbal Space Program started coming out and about. There's a lot. You can literally just type anything, add simulator game, and there's going to be something out there 100%. So that's great. Now you can experience a lot of things without actually having to do the thing. And then if you actually really enjoy it, maybe you could do the thing in real life, you know? Like if your dream is to be a surgeon, they got Surgeon Simulator. And then you can experience what it's like to really cut open some people and perform life-changing surgery. So now, as we culminate on all of these simulation games and the transformation of the genre itself, every game is starting to include these features as a baseline or core design, since a lot of players really have defined, or I guess data speaks for itself, right? People found and realized that these features are a must-have in the game if they were to ever develop something in that genre. Unless it's a friend slop game, you know. Friend slop is a different genre. That one is more about cheap, casual, hyper-casual fun, but nothing long-term, such as playing a game like Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, and whatnot. Games that require more of your time, over like 100 hours to complete. So now that's going to bring us to the final section, which is the upcoming and the announcement of Harvest Moon Echoes of Teradea, which I'm very excited. I'm very excited for that one. 100%. Because we haven't had a Harvest Moon entry in for so long. I think around around 15 years, I think. I mean, the other games were basically just spin-offs. So I think this is more of like a flagship title that I hope I can look forward to. And I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I saw the trailer. The 3D looks, it's not the best, but it is acceptable in a way that actually looks good. All right, I think I'll play the trailer. We'll just look at a trailer from another YouTube channel, maybe. So the Echoes of Teradea is interesting because it is not just another small farm town game like all the other Harvest Moon games, right? Because it was very simple and basic. For this one, it's also being developed by a different developer called Imagica Geek, and it's scheduled to launch I think next year. Okay, I'm not sure. We'll have to hear more about it. And the main features about this one, we'll look at the trailer after this quest, is the massive open world experience. Now, compared to most farming simulator games, you're confined to a certain area, right? And it's not as big. But they all have different instances, like the mining instances. I mean, like the caves, right? Caves, forests, instances. So they add a little bit of elements of roguelike elements and dungeon crawling, which I enjoy. Of course, don't get me wrong. A lot of people enjoy that. People like having the sense of adventure and a little bit of danger in their farming simulation game. Because nothing feels great than mining into the depths of hell to find the diamond and getting destroyed by a giant slime. Okay, and other than that, they've added more expansive companion systems, which I believe feels kind of looks more similar to what's the other game called? I don't want to say Shin Megami Tensei, but it kind of feels like that in my opinion, because you can like raise your stats and everything like that, and then they have obviously a more expanded farming and animal raising, a more deeper romance and relationship system. So like the things that I said, that features that are part of the core values of what make farming simulator good. And they also have campsites and travel, which literally turns Harvest Moon almost into an RPG, to be fair, which is fine. And then I want to talk about some things that they should add to this kind of adventure once I get through this. And the last one is guardian spirits and different kind of disasters, which I hope are dynamic and random. So it just adds more flavor to the game. Once you get the rhythm of the gameplay loop, you know, repetitiveness gets kind of boring. So hopefully those disasters are dynamic and a little bit sporadic, you know, not too crazy. Kind of like RimWorld, you know, when you turn on Randy Random and you just get a whole bunch of colonists that are just absolute garbage and you have to survive or die, honestly. Most of the time you just die. But RimWorld is a great example of that genre really transforming itself into the next level. And I think this is Natsume and the developers trying to give the series a more fantasy take. Because right now, I think a lot of people, and not really myself included, really like the genre, but it's getting too realistic, you know. We need to add some fantasy, like different kind of crops. Like we can have something like a carrot combined, like different fruits, like make some fruits up, you know, like really use your imagination, because you gotta start being unique. You know, maybe they got some sort of different radish turnip. We call it the ratern, or like a potato and a banana. It's like a bonano or something. I don't know. You know, really make some things up, make it unique. So it makes the series stand out more, and it's easy for marketing. If that even makes sense. So hopefully they get these things right. You know, Natsume actually gets Echoes of Teradea the treatment it deserves. It cooks long enough in the oven. The gameplay obviously needs to feel satisfying, and even though there is little progress for the player, at least indicate some sort of progress. And they could even make it seem like an adventure as they progress when it has like story-like features. And of course, make sure the world is interactive and dynamic, because if it's just empty, like, why do I want to play a game that's empty? All right, I don't want to see it, but they just got to put in that AI not chat GPTs, any LLM, like just freaking put an LLM in there. You can make a really cheap LLM that runs on 1 gigabyte of RAM or whatever. Super easy. Hopefully the developers actually do some research and implement their own and train it on the game's lore so it feels exciting and fun. And I feel like we're going to see a lot of companies do that, especially RPG games that are supposed to be engaging, and it just makes it more interesting and fun, right? All right. So hopefully the story is going to be cozy and not too world-inducing. Like, I don't want to be like saving the entire world when I'm just trying to plant freaking turnips and radishes. Make the most of the story just needs to be more personal. You know, it's all about your personal hardships through life. that make the journey interesting. So they need to polish that type of things, and then hopefully I'm going to talk about things that I hopefully think they will add, that when you're going on an adventure or an expedition, might I say, based on the trailer, that you can recruit randomized NPCs that have certain skill levels to contribute to the farm you're building. Let's say like watering, planting, things of that. Things that they can borrow from other games such as Pal World, where they have all those what's that, skills, suitabilities or something, like planting, mining, medicine, building, handicraft, and all that. All those life skills can be implemented into NPCs, and you recruit them, and these NPCs can also come in randomized features, like they have all different hair colors and stuff like that, just to add more replayability. Add some of those roguelike features and dungeon-esque type style, combining them with a farming sim, and I think you'll have a great, fun game. And of course, make it co-op, multiplayer. Of course, it's like friend swap games are the way, and Stardew Valley is co-op now, and it's a fun time. So anyway, some fans are already cautious for Natsume and Harvest Moon, and how they have a mixed reputation from people that really like the classic Harvest Moon style, transforming into like Story of Seasons, and now to like their modern take. And they think that developers are different now. I don't think they're not really the original. But yeah, this new studio will hopefully revive the Harvest Moon genre, or Harvest Moon IP franchise. So now, my final question or thing is like, of course, Stardew Valley is huge. Hopefully, Echoes of Teradea can capture some of those people, such as myself and others, that really enjoyed playing Stardew Valley and looking for something brand new. So we can keep a keen eye on Echoes of Teradea together. And hopefully Harvest Moon can give us that feeling that we had back then. So some question like, did you prefer the classic style of Harvest Moon back then on the Game Boy and PlayStation? Or do you really prefer like this big open world farming and survival-esque type of games like Pal World, and I guess my time at Porsche, and I guess like Ark Survival. Rust kind of has this, but there's not really a farming. But yeah, combining survival with farming simulation and all the things that I mentioned from the other franchises, hopefully it becomes a good formula. All right. So yeah, Harvest Moon is one of those series that definitely has a memory or a spot in my heart. And I think that's it for this video. I guess I'll play a little bit of the trailer. I don't know. This is some YouTuber. So we will take a look at it right here. So as you can see, I'm gonna read that. It looks really good, right? Like, it's something that has an aesthetic look, which I like, which all the other Harvest Moons that were 3D literally look like the assets were made by different people with like no design. But this one looks really good. So you got all this stuff, farming and animals. It literally looks like a PS2 game, honestly. So hopefully, I don't know if they're gonna update the graphics. I feel like they really need Nvidia's help on this game, because these pictures look way better than what I'm seeing right here, honestly. Unless this is a different game. Oh yeah, so these are the pictures comparing from the old versions of other Harvest Moon games. So yeah, hopefully Harvest Moon will be in a good spot. And that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next Walk, Talk, and Rock. Peace out.